This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
M3 Radio in the mix.
Royalty free. Disney can't sue me. Killing time.
Finn and Rey, for the sake of this meeting, I can put aside your disloyalty and sworn allegiance to the destruction of the First Order. What I cannot sweep under the rug, however, is your microaggressions and lack of diversity in your safe space.
There you go.
I know. Who am I to lecture you? After all, you are a woman, and you are a Tatooine American?
Black, just go.
Right, okay, Black's cool. I just didn't want to assume. The point remains, there are all different kinds of diversity across this grand galaxy of ours, and they're not fairly represented by the Rebel Alliance.
Oh, jeez, here.
Check your privilege, bro.
Calling Ray, it looks like another pod racer got blown up crossing the desert
Probably
again.
more damn sand people.
They're called Tusken Raiders, and how dare you make such assumptions with such unabashed prejudice?
Yeah, I'm still getting scale, right? To confirm, yes, they were Tusken Raiders.
Well, that's a big surprise.
Who do you think you are? You know nothing of the intricacies of their ancient, yet beautiful and mysterious culture.
Well, we have spaceships and droids, and they're still fighting over one patch of land with harpoons. I think I got it.
When you talk like that, you're no better than the dark side or the Tusken Raiders themselves.
We still don't target innocent desert crossers or make our women dress up like ninjas, so disagree.
I'll pretend like I didn't hear that. On to item number 2. Ray, we found this in your wardrobe.
Okay.
This outfit has been banned from future merchandising because it was designed to be titillating and or sexually rambunctious, and it encourages patriarchy.
So why is it okay when Lena wears it? Hey, you guys, look at me. I'm like super brave to wear this. I hope nobody tries and rapes me.
Why'd you do that?
Get off my spaceship! Even I think that was a little much, man.
You completely violated her safe force field. And is the capacity on that blaster below the recent federal maximum?
It's a laser blaster. It's unlimited.
Then why the bear with the crossbow?
Lucas can't write for shit. Yeah, I heard that. We even had to bring back Mark Hamill.
All right.
May the force be with you. Oh, no. Bit of snack there. Have some self-respect. For God's sakes, look in a mirror. No! It's not true! It's impossible! Why? Did you keep a food log?
That's a good one, man.
Cripes, I can see your thyroid from here.
And why are there no transgender Wookiees?
They're asexual.
Sir Wookiee, would you mind if we called you pansexual? Thank you for your tolerance. Item number 3. I would like to present to you the new, all-inclusive, super-tolerant LGBTQ AIFCWX Stormtrooper costume!
You gotta be kidding
don't
me.
even.
I couldn't pick them from a rooftop full of faggots.
Ray, sorry to bother you. They blew up another one.
Okay, everyone, let's not assume anything.
Yeah, it was sand people.
Damn it!
Welcome back to N3 Radio Presents Don't Tread on Me. We are the counterinsurgency to the communist invasion. This is episode 26, and we are recording today on September 12th, 2018. Resisting the resistance with me, as always, is my co-host, my editor, my producer, and my boss. Beach Ball, how you doing?
I'm doing much better than I was earlier in the week. I'm getting over the stomach flu, but other than that, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Oh man, I feel for you, dude. I really feel for you.
Well, I mean, the good thing about the whole thing is I actually got my tetanus shot, because I had to go to the ER. So, it's a good comes out of a bad situation.
So I wanted to talk to you real quick about business and what's in the business. Now, I sent you a message yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to read it or not, but I'm thinking about making the show bi-monthly.
And whatever you think works, especially with the content that you have, especially for us today, because we were just mentioning just before we went on the air that we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today because it might be a two-parter.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how fast we get through the content, but we're gonna try to make it as interesting as possible. We're gonna go back to the old Star Wars but that's because there's a lot of fruitful information out there, and believe it or not, even if you're not a fan of Star Wars or are deep involved in what's going on, this has to do with you too, because what they're doing in these fan communities, whether it's games, comics, movies, is that they're entrenching themselves into those communities so that they could shame your children into siding with their divisive and extremist politics. So it's very important, even if you don't really care about the movie or anything like that, you might find some gold in this conversation that we're going to have. And to get into the information, the bi-monthly idea is, we're on episode 26 right now, and I think I've been doing this a year now. So if you go by the standard of we're only getting out an episode every 2 weeks by the numbers. So what I'm finding out is based on my real life and getting in contact with everybody I need to do to make this happen, and having the time to set up the show. I'm only really truly able to get it out every other week. So I hope that doesn't mean I lose listeners. I don't think it will, because you guys have been pretty, who's been loyal has been loyal since the very beginning. So we'll just make it official. If we do more than that, we'll do more than that. If we do less than that, I hope we don't do less than that. I hope we at least get 2 out a month. But that seems to be the frequency that I'm able to get out a show, and we're trying to get you more quality instead of quantity. So I hope it works out. Hey,
I think that's a good policy anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Quality over quantity.
Right. So, Beach Ball, what do you know about Mike Zero? Who's Mike Zero in the Star Wars community? When
I started, hearing about, The Force Awakens, I, of course, would go to YouTube to find information about the upcoming story. And there were a lot of different channels that I would just check out. A couple that I subscribe to that I have disavowed from for various reasons. Although, they all have their merits. I think we will mention a couple of them coming up in the article you have. Specifically, Hello Greedo was one. I might not always agree with what he has to say or his opinions, but at least he puts his case forward in a concise, thoughtful manner, and that's always good, and I give him a thumbs up for that. Then, of course, there's Mike Zero, who I was like, who is this dude, and how is he able to get some of this information he's putting out? And so it was like, and I thought I had to ask you your opinion on him, because I was like, is this guy legit or is this guy garbage? Should I even be listening to what this guy says? There was a couple of guys that I would watch from Germany who would actually would speak only in German and talk about the Star Wars, and I could pick up words here and there. So there was a lot of different channels, and basically Mike Zero, I got basically everything I needed to know. I learned from you, Mad Dog. about Mike Zero, and this was what, 3 years ago, at least, if not coming
I
up
don't
to
know if
4
it's
years ago.
quite that long ago, but I mean, it's, that sounds about right. I mean, like, so I didn't know about Mike Zero until after The Force Awakens. So J.J. Abrams' movie was done, and then in between, when Rian Johnson's movie was being filmed, I started catching this Mike Zero on YouTube. I really, at that time, I started really kind of getting into the YouTube culture a little bit more than normal. And I was watching more frequently on Xbox, and from the whole time, there was like a whole time, or almost a year, where I was out of work because of an injury. I had a lot of time on my hands where I really couldn't be on my feet. So watching YouTube became a bigger thing than actually even playing video games, which I don't think I've played a video game in almost a year now. But Mike Zero is one of those guys who's just, at some point you realize that the dude has no credibility. But he's this dude. He puts out about 3 or 4 videos a day. He's Zero with an H. I wouldn't say, I'm not standing up for the credibility of the dude. I don't think he's very credible in what he does, and for whatever reason, he has a pretty strong following. But we just had this campaign that we've talked about here in the show. By the way, we've covered this extensively. Kelly Marie Tran, an actress from the latest Star Wars movie. Excuse me, not the latest Star Wars movie, but The Last Jedi, which is the divisive movie that everybody's still fighting about 10 months after the film was released. Was supposedly bullied on social media and harassed so much where she took herself off, and it created this big upstorm of attacks against anybody who was critical against the movie. And I'm going to say straight up, it became more of an argument about politics, where the people who were fans of the movie are actually more fans of the political propaganda that was in the movie, and the political propaganda spewed by the movie's director, Rian Johnson. And it became more of like a attack against Trumpers, where, I mean, like, basically anybody who had a critical opinion of the film was supporting the harassment of Kelly Marie Tran, and they couldn't possibly have an opinion that was negative against this movie without supporting anti-Asian, anti-female propaganda. And guys like Making Star Wars is Jason Ward. So if you go to makingstarwars.net, Jason Ward's a very credible spoiler information type guy. If you listen to his podcast, you will get a lot about spoilers. That is very about the next and up and coming movies. That is very credible. But you also get a big dose of communist propaganda. He's a self-proclaimed communist. He's somebody that I've personally have had conversations with in person and on the phone and over Xbox and other venues and avenues. And at one time, I did consider him to be a friend to some, of course. He's a self-proclaimed communist. And we were able to be friends even though we had differences of opinions in politics. And in the most case, I'm able to handle a friendship with somebody who has a different political opinion than, say, I do. And as time went on, as more and more fuel and fire was being added to this The Last Jedi conversation, that's what we'll just call it overall, it kind of pulled me out of the woodwork, because I believe that I was kind of quiet on my dislike for the movie for about maybe like 3 or 4 months after the movie came out. and then the Kelly Marie Tran stuff started happening, and then I was seeing the Gamergate like tactics being used against anybody who had criticism of the film, and I felt like it was up to me to stand up to it. You know, for somebody, we myself and Beach Ball, we put out a pretty a 2-part review of the movie. You know, we brought in friends and we talked about the movie, and at first you kind of don't really know what you get into, and eventually as time goes on and you're able to really think about some of the narratives in the film, your either opinion gets stronger or it diminishes. And for me, my opinion of the film completely diminished to the point where I don't even consider it as canonical to the Star Wars mythos. So I got a article today. It's called "Mike Zero is Trash," and it's written by Making Star Wars' Jason Ward. And it was according to this, it was last updated on September 4th, 2018. And I'm going to go by and read bullet for bullet, and then I have little answers to each one of the points brought up. So this is, once again, Making Star Wars is Jason Ward. And today I was picking up my kids from their first day of preschool, and I grabbed then some snacks and let them play on the playground when I got a text message from a friend telling me that the Den of Nerds YouTube channel was covering the Rian Johnson Mike Zero story, and they were, in my opinion, of my friend, dumping on me. I watched the video, and I think it's kind of funny that they are dying to have everyone on their show, from nutbag alt-right YouTubers to Mike Zero himself. So my question is, what is alt-right, Jason? Instead of reaching out to me, they have a discussion about me where they assume that I would say a lot of the time that they're in an area of accuracy, but not always. They also make some assumptions that I find to be critical errors in their reasoning. At the end of their video, when they discuss my scoop about the live-action TV scoop show, they treat the story as a general rumor because people like Mike Zero, who are just lifting information without citation. As opposed to what you do for a living, Jason? In the value of Den of Nerds video to me is that it represents the side of fandom that is confused about why anyone is treating Mike Zero as the joke he is, and why anyone is annoyed with his continual lying about Star Wars and his consistent thievery. Zero credibility, zero accuracy. Who is this? Who's arguing this point, straw man? Who is arguing it, Jason? Nobody is defending Mike Zero on his accuracy. They're defending Mike Zero because basically you're opposed to harassment as long as it's against the white boy that you dislike. YouTuber Mike Zero is a fraud, and justifying his behavior is ethically questionable. It is your behavior we are questioning. Jason. I'm still not sure what you do is anything better. I know someone will say if you don't believe his channel or don't like his channel, don't watch it. That's a simplification. It's neither realistic nor responsible. Well, Jason, that's exactly what I was able to do with you and him. I don't no longer listen to your channel. I don't no longer listen to your podcast, and I no longer really partake in your website, as opposed to today, because this popped up, and I see what you're doing. The idea that you can tell YouTube you don't like something or a channel and it stops giving you that content just isn't true. YouTube is either broken or always testing something to make sure that the most violent content rises to the top. Stop pretending, Amanda, and you love shit-stirring drama. You spend all that time dismantling every word Jason and Jimmy Mack said on Rebel Force Radio, taking everything out of context Imagine if we did the same thing to your finger, Jason. How many times have we heard people say Super Shadow fooled me back in the day? A lot. Really, Jason? Hey, Beach Ball, do you know who Super Shadow was?
Never heard of him.
So before the days of YouTube and before the days of podcasting, there was a website out there called supershadow.com. And Super Shadow was this weirdo who, I mean, nobody really knows who the guy was. I mean, there's people who suggest they know who he was, but I don't think anybody knows who the dude was. But he had this, it was called supershadow.com. And it was all these spoilers into 7, 8, and 9, like well before, the sell to Disney and the announcement that they were making these movies. So people were getting caught up in this stuff. And this dude was like legitimately just making this shit up. But he was claiming he was friends with Spielberg and Lucas. And George was, sitting down telling him all these things. So he had this website. I mean, it was like very popular. People were going to it like crazy. And, a lot of people were fooled by it. So just to give people the backstory on who Super Shadow was, he was the illegitimate fraud in the spoiler community, I could tell you also that I do get emails to this site and my podcast. Now this is podcasting. Of course, he plugs his own podcast about the content that Mike Zero puts out by people that are fooled by him. If Zero is doing a cinema verite or an Andy Kaufman style show about absurdities of fandom and discourse and people got fooled, that would be one thing. I used to hope that was the case, to be honest. Maybe that's what Super Shadow was doing all the time. Why are you better? So that's my question to you, Jason. But Mike Zero is literally lying to Star Wars fans because he doesn't respect anyone or anything. That's a pretty tall claim there, Jason. He doesn't respect anyone or anything. You see a channel like Geeks and Gamers talk about Rian Johnson insulting the fans, or about how Kathleen Kennedy is not doing right by the fans, and yet these channels and people defending Mike Zero are completely cool with Zero lying to Star Wars fans' faces. Well, he's just a fan on YouTube, not people in the company demanding you accept their bullshit and still show up to pay for a ticket. A big fucking difference, dude. It is also worth noting that Geeks and Gamers scene of channels had no problem casting shadow of a doubt on Lone Tran was bullied off the internet. But once a white dude like Mike Zero gets lightly ribbed by Rian Johnson, he has been bullied and it is unacceptable. Why is his white skin a reason why we should accept the action of Rian Johnson, who rallied against, everybody for supposedly going after Kelly Marie Tran? I mean, like, shouldn't you live by your own rules, Jason? If Kelly Marie Tran shouldn't be bullied, and she shouldn't, then Mike Zero should get the same respect, period. In my opinion, Rian Johnson didn't punch down on those types of guys. Will he say he did? Mike Zero runs videos explicitly claiming Rian has been removed from future Star Wars projects, and fans asked if Rian was true. Rian set the record straight and made a comment essentially warned people not to take that source seriously. Zero literally makes up lies about Rian, a real person losing their job. Rian is also accessible. So bear with me, because I'm just reading what this fucking supposed journalist wrote. And he's trying to write like he speaks. I mean, maybe he should invest in having his wife edit what he writes, because I'm just doing the best I can, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense what he's writing. Are you seeing that as you're reading it there, Beach Ball?
Yeah, I'm reading along with you.
Yeah, I'm like I'm getting stuck because I don't know what the fuck he's trying to write. Do you really think it is impossible for Rian Johnson to not be fired for this bullshit there, Jason? That 46 Rotten Tomatoes score is a real deal. It's not Russian bots. It's not fake. That 46% Rotten Tomatoes score looks more real and more real. And as this episode goes on, or if we turn it into 2 episodes, we're going to legitimately prove that. We're going to legitimately prove that Rian Johnson's piece of garbo fucking destroyed half the fandom. Some of these creators aren't, but he is. The dude hung out at Star Wars Celebration with fans for like 4 hours, and he has been extremely forthcoming on Twitter. So hanging out with yeah,
I wouldn't call that forthcoming. I would call it bullying and trying to smear everybody that doesn't like what he's put out. That's not being forthcoming. That's being a turd. That's what it is.
Let's say for example that he did do all that. He is forthcoming on Twitter. He does tell the fans what they want. I mean, like, not everything he's saying is negative against people who are criticizing him. I'm sure he's got positive comments, and he's extremely forthcoming to people who kiss his ass. I'm pretty sure that happens. And like, so what? He hung out at Celebration for 4 hours with people. People go there for that experience. I spent thousands of dollars at Celebration for that experience. I met Simon Kinberg. I shook his hand. I met Pablo Hidalgo, who's a person who's in the story group at Lucasfilm. We go there for that experience. I mean, yeah, maybe the fucking director should come out and fucking meet and greet people for 4 hours if they're spending thousands of dollars of their hard-earned money. Before the fucking movie came out and disappointed everybody. That's his fucking job. So, you agree with the Gamergate tactics and deconstructing the fan base? Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Breaking down the third wall a little bit. How meta, Jason? That's me right there, by the way. It's not hard to... It would not be hard to even attempt to reach out for comment on this story, but it isn't about truth. It's about criticizing Rian Johnson for his comment. Don't care about him or Mike Zero. They care he made a movie with values they find opposing to their own. So this is where he says essentially diversity, equality, honesty, humility, and the basic tenets of a hero. So we're against all that. I'm criticizing him for his content and his attacks on those criticisms. I'm also criticizing people like you who want to be in control of who and what is justified and not based on self-proclaimed communist beliefs. So,
and I'm criticizing it just on the basis of plot line and basic
character
development.
Yes.
Yeah, character development, structure, and just making sense between one movie and the second. For example, let me just throw this out there, and we mentioned this before, and nobody from the shill side of the Force can answer this without me being attacked by them. Nobody can answer this. Why would Luke Skywalker put out a piece of a map if he didn't want to be found in The Last Jedi?
That's one of the best questions ever. It's one of that deconstructs everything that they're trying to say, and ultimately destroys the whole political angle of what they're doing. People don't have a problem with diversity. They went to see The Force Awakens. Over and over again. That's how it made over $2 billion. It made $900 million in the United States alone. It's when people went to see the other one, they I don't like it. I'm not going to go see it again. And they didn't like it so much, they didn't go see Solo. I mean, you could even argue that Rogue One isn't half the movie The Force Awakens is. And I don't think it is. I find it very, for the most part, I find it very forgettable. But I went to see it a couple times. It didn't turn me off. But the Last Jedi turns me off. I feel like they add a bunch of characters for the points of essential diversity, equality, equity, honesty, humility, but but Rian Johnson failed to service those characters. I would have loved to see a great character in Star Wars by Benicio del Toro. We didn't get that. They failed to service Gwendolyn Christie, not only in The Force Awakens, but in The Last Jedi also. They totally steered away from developing John Boyega or Daisy Ridley's character. And Rose Tico was an awful character, not justifying anybody harassing her, but I just don't. I find to be those points of her being harassed to be way hyperbolic than what actually is going on here. I think anybody and everybody who's an actor or on Twitter gets critical. They get criticized. So it's hyperbolic to suggest that anybody gets any more criticized than anybody else.
For just the sake of argument, or just putting it out there, and I know this is going to blow the left's minds, but Rose's character would have been terrible if it was played by a white female or a white male. It doesn't matter who was playing it. It was a bad character. It seemed like it was forced into the movie. It had nothing to do with the movie as far as I'm concerned. And it also, you were right about, Gwendolyn. And it just seems like Benicio is just like, he's like, yep, here for my check. Gotta go, bye. I mean, look, he totally mailed it in. You could tell by the performance.
Why would you do a good job on the character he was given? He wasn't even given a fucking name. His name was Don't Join.
Yeah.
That was like this big secret. Oh, we can only tell you his name is DJ for Don't Join. That's the most fucking stupid, ridiculous fucking writing ever. And it's something that we overlook when we're talking about these movies. It makes me fucking physically angry that you have a guy of Benicio del Toro's character and you give him such a shitty role. Shitty role. My lord. I don't care if Ryan made a Star Wars film or about how much money he has. If you make up lies about someone and all they do is laugh off your credibility, what is it? What is a joke? That makes a light reference to the crew using your alias as a synonym. Zero is not his real name, in case you were wondering. That's pretty reasoned and extremely nice of Ryan. Rian Johnson directed a $1 billion film. Lions aren't concerned with the actions of sheep. Unless you see a weak link in the chain, why shouldn't Ryan walk the walk? Why shouldn't he be above commenting about the opinion of a sheep on the internet? I have nothing but respect for the director. We know you share his ideology, so you have nothing but respect for him. Look at the fucking story, Jason. Stop being so intellectually dishonest. This is about politics for you. I think he made a good film, but regardless of my opinion, I know he worked his ass to make sure that the movie was the best film he could possibly make. And I think you would be hard-pressed to find a director. Don't worry, I'll correct your spelling, Jason. If you're going to write a fucking article and put it out on the internet, maybe you should fucking go through maybe you should have your wife fucking check your grammar and spelling. In this franchise that has been more involved with our culture than Rian Johnson, I can think of somebody. His name is Dave Filoni. He's been fucking way more involved in the culture of Star Wars, and he doesn't need to go out of his way to fucking attack fucking people who dislike the Clone Wars or Rebels. Oh, by the way, Jason, you have made it very fucking clear that you don't like Rebels. Even though that you have shills that fucking love every fucking second of every fucking minute that was put on fucking Disney XD on your show. You've made it very fucking clear that you don't like Rebels. So stop trying to pretend that Rian Johnson is the savior of fucking Star Wars. He's not. Dave Filoni is. You can dislike his film and still respect his integrity. He doesn't have integrity. This is the point. Why do you feel you need to defend him if he has so much integrity? I quietly disliked this film for months until his Twitter, Rian Johnson's Twitter, was off the fucking hook. And shills like you, Jason, you, the Brian Youngs out there, were pointing out the Jews like it was 1937. Anyone in trying to make the guy into a villain while making Mike Zero an innocent victim, while he makes up lies to hundreds and thousands of people, has several issues. Well, Rian Johnson has hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm not sure that Mike Zero does. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check that out right now. Mike Zero. Let's find him. Let's find out how many. He's got 132,000 subscribers. Rian Johnson has 437,000 followers on Twitter. So he's got 1/4 of the followers that Rian Johnson has. So, just to point that out. Rian Johnson is a villain. He had little to do with the special needs boy. Doing videos. Nobody on his side is vouching for Mike Zero's credibility or yours. I don't for a second hate YouTubers as a platform for Star Wars. Large channels such as, and he's going to name Hello Greedo and Star Wars Explained, has proven for years that the platform can be used enthusiastically to make honest, if not sincere, content about this thing we love. And occasionally drives us crazy, but if there was anything I would call opposite to those channels, it would probably be Mike Zero's videos. So he's going to claim that, he likes Hello Greedo, but Hello Greedo's never been negative before, huh? I will tell you, at the very beginning, Hello Greedo was ultimately negative. Didn't like anything. Was not a fan of nothing. Hello Greedo has evolved into what he is now because he sees the dividends coming from being monetized on YouTube. Zero in making Star Wars. So here's where he's going to talk about his personal issue with Mike Zero right here. And this is largely reinforcing his defense of Rian Johnson. So here we go. Mike Zero never had a video on my page because of my vantage point, it was pretty obvious that he was a fraud. I'm not disagreeing with you on that there, Jason. Not disagreeing at all. And I do agree to an extent if you continue to consume his content and think his video about Snoke being an acronym for Sith no one knew existed is quality content, to each his own. But that's not the end of the issue. If the issue was theorizing, there would be nothing wrong with this channel. Maybe when you were busy making sure he got his strike, Jason, you could have reached out to help the weirdo out. Since you want to be the internet police and shit, especially when it comes to content having to do with Star Wars. You and your wife are out there, leading the charge and protecting everybody from the vile idiots that are consume the internet. Internet police. Jason Ward, Jason and Amanda. In fact, Zero could have just made his channel a theory channel and not pretend to have sources. And he would probably be just where he is today. But instead, Mike Zero deceives his gullible viewers. I think integrity matters. And you don't. You don't deceive your... you make it seem like to your people that you have some legitimate course of stealing the information you steal. See, when you put spoilers out on the internet, that means you've taken property of Disney and Lucasfilm, and you disseminated that information and that property to people when Disney and Lucasfilm is not ready to release that information. So that has something to do with integrity there. And just because you can't hide behind journalism just because it's credible, it doesn't make it any better. So this is the point where this person is saying, see, what I do here is justified because of this, because of my political views. But because Mike Zero put out information saying that Rian Johnson's trilogy is canceled, that makes him not credible. So you shouldn't believe his stuff. So what you're doing is you're trying to own the fandom, and anything that agrees with your opinion is justified. Anything that disagrees with your opinion is not justified. Tricking Star Wars fans is a shitty thing to do, and the process of just making shit up. He casts a shadow of doubt on people that bust their ass to actually bring legitimate scoops, not to mention the people's theories he just plagiarizes. See, just because you have legitimate scoops in the past doesn't give you journalistic integrity. All 100% of your scoops are just releasing information that is going to be released eventually. So you can't, so it can't be considered by the owners of that product, such as Disney and Lucasfilm, to be stealing of intellectual properties. What you're doing is stealing information. So if Mike Zero steals a video that you stole, how is that any different? And that's the issue here. When I first encountered Zero, I didn't know if he was simply a productive idiot. Oh, that's what you call people, right? Productive idiots. Or an unscrupulous monster. I can tell you that he lifted a video from my YouTube page without citation. The video, the video that you had people watching a movie set, right, Jason? So, like, look, I personally don't have a problem with spoilers. I never did. But let's not try to hyperbole and pretend that what you do isn't a violation of trust and in stealing. It is what it is. It is quite the reason why you don't have a good relationship with Lucasfilm. And that's what you're dying for. You want to be able to take what you want, but still be under the good graces of the company. And that's what your problem is. And that's what your problem with Rebel Force Radio was. When asked to cite the work that took a team of people to get in place, shoot, and publish, he ghosted us. He then stole a second video and added a disclaimer that that this content does not belong to MakingStarWars.net. We just put it out. YouTube disagreed, and he got 2 copyright strikes against him. So your bullying stance has to do with your personal vendetta against Mike Zero. It's okay to bully someone if he somehow stole the shit that you stole to begin with. I would have given him a video myself for a citation because then we would all win. My question is, why didn't you have that conversation? Jason, you could have had that conversation with him. You could have locked him on. You could have been the big brother. You could have put your wing out there. You could have been olive branch for good, but instead you choose to just be pissed off and butt heads with him and talk crap with him on your podcast, just like you do with everybody you disagree with. In the weeks that followed, there was a lot of humorous things that went on Zero. Tried to strike back at me. He left a lot of bad comments on my YouTube channel and other places. He also did to channels that associated with me. However, Mike Zero, being the idiot he is, usually did it wrong on the wrong YouTube account. Deleted the comments and reposted it from a stock account. However, at that time, I had email alerts on, so was sent. I'm just reading what this fucking idiot wrote. I had email alerts on, so I was sent the receipts of the comments he posted from his channel. He just loves the run-on sentence. Positive spoiler culture is based in truth. You don't get to make the rules. Spoiler culture is simply releasing information, images, and video of an IP that a company who owns doesn't want to be released. There is nothing positive about that. It's exactly the reason why you have zero personal connection to Lucasfilm licensing. It is the reason you were butthurt about Rebel Force Radio and their personal access to Lucasfilm. It is exactly why your wife engaged in the hit job on Rebel Force Radio. Spoilers, rumors, and scoops is a complicated terrain to traverse, is it? I believe when you're accurate and representing a film and a question in an accurate light, I believe you do a great job of that, but don't misdirect what you do. Lucasfilm hates you. They hate you, Jason. That's why you have no contact with them. And you being on the side of Rian Johnson is not going to put you in their good graces, because to them, you are a thief. The consumers who want to know what to expect, expectations are put in line, and the fans who want to know get to discuss and ponder the means of those ideas for some time. Rather than opening weekend, I feel like a whole thing builds enthusiasm, allows historic minutia to be analyzed and considered. Then when the film comes out, the fans, we process what ideas pertained. What landed and what didn't. For me and spoiler-friendly fans, it is a process and a part of our enthusiasm. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That I agree, but you don't get to decide what is legitimate in the eyes of the company that you're taking from. Whether I can handle a spoiler or not doesn't change what you do. Whether I'm okay personally with you taking information and disseminating it amongst the masses doesn't make what you do okay. It's still stealing. So stop pretending that the video that you stole of people on Skellig Michael, because when you're setting people up to film stuff at Skellig Michael, you're stealing information from a company who's going out of their way to prevent that from happening. I believe when you're inaccurate, you're putting words in the content creator's mouth. You're holding them up like a puppet, and when the wrong scoops are dumb, it's disappointing to fans and for no reason. When the scoops sound rad because they're just fan-servicing ideas that tell the fanboys what they want to hear, never mind the idea would ever fit into a story structure that would resemble anything close to the movie. It sets up a future up for failure in the minds of consumer of Star Wars content. So let's take a real quick shot at this. The video that Mike Zero stole from making Star Wars was a far shot video of what looked like a lightsaber battle on Skellig Michael. Beach ball. Do you remember there being a lightsaber battle with multiple people in the movie?
The movie was just, it's just, the way the movie was, is just, I mean, it's like you say, the more you look at it hold on. You know.
I want you to answer the specific question.
Okay, what?
Did you remember, now I don't know why you're coming in weak, but did you remember there being multiple lightsaber battles going on simultaneously on Luke Skywalker's island?
Unless it was one of the deleted scenes, and I saw the deleted scenes and I didn't even see it in there.
So, couldn't you say that you're holding them up like a puppet when the wrong scoops are dumb, disappointing fans, and for no other reason? When you make up scoops, sounds rad because they're just fan servicing ideas that tell the fan base what they want to hear. Never mind the idea that would ever fit into a story structure would resemble anything close to a good movie. It sets up a future of failure in the minds of the consumers of Star Wars content. So when you post up something that's spoiler that doesn't actually even make it into the movie, which is his big problem with Mike Zero is Mike Zero took this video and removed his watermark and put the video up and talked about it as spoiler content that he got, which didn't end up to be impactful in the movie at all. So I'm talking on the merits of the content itself. How is he doing anything different? Let's say for argument's sake that Mike Zero had a cameraman standing right next to Making Star Wars' cameraman, and they were both filming the same content at the same time. For whatever reason, stagehands that were at Skellig Michael all grabbed fake lightsabers and decided to start screwing off and fighting with each other. These two cameras simultaneously take the same information. They send that information either to Mike Zero or Jason Ward at Making Star Wars, and they disseminate that information to the masses. Does that not set up ideas and fan service that disappoint the fans when they find out that shit's not in the movie?
Absolutely.
So, under the understanding that I believe that Jason Ward gets credible information, sometimes his credible information can be misconstrued, no matter how careful he is, and does exactly the same thing that he's complaining that Mike Zero does. Maybe Mike Zero isn't as accurate or as careful as a guy like Jason Ward or Star Wars Underworld, or this is all about politics in the end. You liked the ideas that Rian Johnson was going to do things that emasculate the male characters in the movie because you believe that those type of divisive politics are going to deconstruct the fan base. So you're on board with what actually happened. And that's why you guys defend this movie. Because in order to keep making Star Wars movies, it's going to need people to engage in the capitalistic business of buying a fucking ticket. So you want to defend this now because you were all part of it. Mike Zero is not any fucking lower than you are. It's just you wear your fucking communist politics on your fucking sleeve. The Den of Nerds video. So, I mean, I think I've listened to the Den of Nerds, guys, maybe twice. I just wasn't into it. I mean, I sometimes listen to the Geeks and Gamers guy and the Quartering guy. I'm not on board with every opinion and every little thing they do. It's just, I just see this for what it is. These guys engage in a Gamergate assault on the fucking fandom. And now they're fucking paying for it. And it's taking their useful idiots like Jason Ward and Brian Young and others like them and Benjamin Hart. It's taking these guys to go out there and fucking defend because they see this slipping through their hands. They thought Rian Johnson was going to put out this movie, right? At first, they had no idea, but they agree with the political message in the movie. So they want to defend it. They want to defend it no matter how fucking, how Swiss cheese the fucking merits of that movie is. Den of Nerds video, they making claims that my words divide rather than unite fandom. You are a divider, dude. Anybody listening to your fucking podcast, hearing the words that come out of your mouth knows you're a divider. That's a wonderful thesis and a beautiful idea, but the YouTubers that feel divided in my words, who are talking, aren't Star Wars fans, but they're people using the Comicsgate method of monetization of the fandom by being vile assholes. You are not innocent of being a vile asshole or using Comicsgate, Gamergate tactics at all. You and the people like you have been doing this and have been severely cutting fans out of the fandom. You've been gatekeeping the fandom. You are fucking neck deep in the same fucking tactics that you're claiming everybody does. Mike Zero is probably about to be indoctrinated into the side of things as they embrace him because they can use him as an effigy of the fan being attacked by the creator. There is a true divide. No, it's a true, he's being attacked by the creators legitimately happening. I don't believe in equality, diversity, representation, and the idea anyone can be the next Luke Skywalker. I said, most of us do. Most of us do. However, we demand the story to support it. That's the problem. That's the problem with Rian Johnson's fucking masterpiece, is he didn't fucking support any of the characters to be where they're at. I also feel the fandom itself should be that way too. These people don't want that. They are the people that call my wife a fake geek girl. They are the people that help justify the treatment of Lone Tran. That's Kelly Marie Tran. He's going to use her real name. I mean, like, she doesn't really want, I mean, if she wanted to use that name, she would put that name. That would be her name. Why does an Asian actress have to change her name to Kelly Marie in order to be accepted? Why aren't we thinking about that? Why are we asking that question? Of course these people would embrace Mike Zero. The truth doesn't matter to them. I said, you spend time calling people fake fans and you want them to have the same respect? Live by your own rules. Once again, it's impossible for these guys to live by their own rules. I'm not trying to paint myself as a symbol of virtue. Bullshit. Everything you guys do is a virtue signal. Everything you do. It's been this way since you guys tried pulling it off with the John Boyega stuff in the Force Awakens. It's just that shit died out quick. But this Kelly Marie Tran stuff is all as it is a fucking bat signal in the air. I'm quick to anger. I lose my patience with people. I'm no Jedi. But if I were in the Star Wars, but if the Star Wars train is leaving the station and you follow me, everyone is getting on that wants to be there and accepts everyone that is respectful and good-spirited. You should do the same. And you didn't handle that well in this article. You didn't even handle it well in the article. The train has room for people of all walks of life, from the LGBTQ community to the people of any culture or background not commonly thought of as the standard in Star Wars customer. How about political? The assumption that you throw everyone under an umbrella as alt-right, a social justice construct, in this article justifies the actions of a millionaire with 423,000 followers, suggests that you either support bullying of people you personally dislike or don't understand how someone with the followers of Rian Johnson could be in fact inciting bullying, harassing, and violence to an obvious retard. Then he goes into community trust. If Star Wars community doesn't put a high value on truth, it doesn't deserve to exist. It doesn't matter if it's the truth. If you're stealing it, dude. You are literally trying to justify, like, leaking out a script. But because you disseminate it in a way where you can get multiple hits, doesn't make it any better. You don't get to decide that, dude. It doesn't deserve to be the culture if it has such weak values that we're post-truth. Why don't you work as hard as I do and get the truth? I could just read Reddit for 2 hours, embellish someone else's theory or scoop to be more profitable and have stories coming out on my site, ask 24/7. That's easy. What I do is hard. What I do requires organization, critical thinking, and an ability to mobilize people. Start conversation, discourse. I want the answers to most of all. Love Star Wars and keep my enthusiasm for genuine and real. Why don't you give that same criticism to Rian Johnson? Why is it okay for him to just troll Reddit and get ideas for movies? Because that's literally how he put together this movie. He went through Reddit and he fucking stole somebody's fan idea and wrote a script based on it. That's literally what that dude did. My readers, viewers, and listeners trust that I am doing the best job I can. Oh, yeah, you do a good job. You do a good job disseminating information that's not supposed to be disseminated until the company truly wants to release it. Yes, I admit to partaking into that culture. I think they're also banking on the fact that I'm wrong. My mistake is sincere. I can say without question that I'm not perfect. I've gotten a ton of important things right and things that I've got wrong I can justify. And I do agree with you there. Sometimes the things that you report don't make it into the movie. They're on the cutting room floor, or they never make it to being filmed. It doesn't mean that you're not credible. Just because you get credible information does not make you Jesus Christ. You don't walk on water, dude.
Or the ultimate gatekeeper.
Yeah, his politics fucking stand out on everything. At times I feel like a fisherman casting my line out into the water, hoping to catch something to feed my friends and fans. You don't have fans, dude. You don't have fans. Stop fucking falling for that. Sometimes I catch big fish. Sometimes I'm at sea for weeks until I get a nibble. But when somebody like Mike Zero just lies and says he's got a fish in a barrel, it's insulting to the hard work that is actually conducted, and it would say Zero, who is dividing the community with his lies and deceit. Oh, so now you're just going to point that Mike Zero is dividing. You know what? Most people with a fucking brain don't pay attention to Mike Zero, dude. You're a fucking divider, dude. So what you got to do is listen to what you put on your show. Every story I get, I don't publish. I usually refrain from posting about set drama. Everyone has bad days at work, and I'm not really interested in making a bad day into history. Most of the time when it comes to firings, out of respect for the person being fired on the huge pop culture stage of Star Wars, I don't have any desire to play a part in the humiliation of the artist. But you will jump on board the fucking humiliation of this YouTube guy that nobody should be listening to. Be a step above. Lead by example. Mike Zero even pretending to be in the know on these issues and reporting on them is disgusting me. All the YouTube channels going on this terrible. Hey, why isn't Kathleen Kennedy supposed to be fired by September? Why does Mike Zero deserve a pass when he defames innocent people? Why does Mike Zero get a pass when lies to Star Wars fans? Why is Mike Zero a victim because someone's associated with making a film said his name in a way much nicer than it deserves to be uttered? Why are you the guy who gets to decide whether Mike Zero's name deserves to be uttered? I'm telling you, it shouldn't have been uttered at all. Why say anything at all? If you're right, be right. Why does the truth and accuracy not matter? Well, it matters to me, and that's why I think Mike Zero as a channel and as a fan are completely trash. So you get to decide when people are trash. You're the fucking fan Nazi. I think in reporting fandom and the art that matters is honesty and has very little value. Mike Zero is trash. Mine isn't the only opinion on Zero that leans this way. Oh, so it matters how others think, huh? So when other people think like you do, then it's credible. I see how it works, buddy. To hear it from a YouTuber, a part of the same community as Mike Zero, check out Urban Acolyte's very good video below. I'm not posting up Urban Acolyte's video. I've liked Urban Acolyte, but he also is somebody who partakes in the fucking toxic activism that's going on in fucking fandom right now.
Get lost in the notes of the Jazzlands with me, your host, RC, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, only here on N3 Radio.
Sir?
What?
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Found anything yet? Nothing yet, sir. How about you? Not a thing, sir. What about you guys? We ain't found shit.
No excuses, no apologies, no regrets. You're in the mix with N3 Radio.
So we're back, and N3 Radio presents Don't Tread on Me, and we're still talking about Star Wars. And hey, Beach Ball, guess who's on Twitter? Chuck Windbag is shilling for The Last Jedi again. So Chuck Wendig, that's his name. It's Wendig. On September 5th, went out of his way to post up on Twitter. Wow, geez, it's almost like a really good and popular movie that isn't divisive as some ass-hated people who want to believe it is. Wow, whoa, huh. So The Last Jedi is the top of the best-selling Blu-ray titles of 2018. Oh, wow, how could you figure? How could you figure? Oh, my God, it's number one. I mean, yeah, it made $1 billion at the movie theater. You think that somebody might like it, right? I mean, surely that's impossible. Unpossible, according to Chuck Wendig. So Chuck Wendig is this writer who he wrote a trilogy for the Star Wars new canon, or what we call the expanded universe. We used to call it expanded universe, but so he wrote these books. It's supposed to be about they suck. They're fucking terrible. I couldn't even listen to them on Audible. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I don't like Chuck Wendig's landish, outright defense of The Last Jedi. I didn't like them before I saw The Last Jedi, and I think I've been pretty clear in saying that. So we got an article here, and it's going to jump right off of what Chuck Wendig is talking about. Despite the haters, The Last Jedi is 2018's biggest selling Blu-ray. So as of right this moment, this is a factual statement. But what are they really trying to sell us? So this article is coming from moviewebs.com, and Ryan Scott is the author on September 6th. So that's literally 6 days ago. All right. Despite being the most divisive Star Wars movie in history of the franchise, The Last Jedi, now it's very important. This was released on March 27th. Okay. So this DVD Blu-ray combination was released on March 27th. It's very important that we understand that fact right there. So despite being the most divisive Star Wars movie in history of the franchise, The Last Jedi is currently the best-selling Blu-ray of 2018. Congratulations, guys! You did it! We're roughly 3/4 of the way through the year, and by a pretty wide margin, director Rian Johnson's entry into the galaxy far, far away is leading the pack with 3.02 million units sold. That means, devices as it may have been, Lucasfilm is still raking in the dough. Is that what it really means? Black Panther, very important that we also note this, which was released May 15th, approximately 2 months later, comes in at number 2 spot with a 2.62 million units sold, 400,000 less units with almost 2 months behind The Last Jedi. So it's a very important note that I bring that up there because it's sold just under 400,000 less units. So people who haven't bought Black Panther or The Last Jedi yet may still go, this may change. Though it's arguable that Black Panther is just as successful or close to it as the Marvel Studios release hit Blu-ray in mid-May, whereas The Last Jedi hit shelves back in March, trailing those $2 billion blockbuster behemoths is another MCU movie in the form of Thor Ragnarok with 2.34 million units sold so far in 2018. The big takeaway there is Disney is clearly owning the movie marketplace right now. Not only are they easily the most dominant studio at the box office currently, but it's evidenced by this list that they are also releasing movies that consumers like enough to own. Case in point, Pixar's Coco came in for the number 4 spot. The House of Mouse exercised a level of dominance and Hollywood, frankly, has seen before. That's only going to increase. Logic would dictate once their purchase of the 20th Century Fox is complete. Controversy or no controversy, this list isn't terribly surprising when looking at the numbers. The Last Jedi grossed $1.33 billion worldwide. Black Panther did very similar business with $1.34 billion worldwide. These sales figures seem largely following along the lines of the most successful movies at the box office go on to sell the most copies on home video. There are some exceptions to the rule, such as Blade Runner 2049, which is sitting at the number 9 spot, which is fucking awful. That movie, you can't get through the fucking first 20 minutes of the movie without falling asleep. And I've tried watching it 4 times. I mean, you know what? I don't know about you, Beach Ball, but I think the Blade Runner series is awful. Is terrible and boring. I don't know if
it's arty. That's the best way to put it. It's arty. Now, don't get me wrong. The 1982 version at the time was a good movie and rightfully it should be seen as a good movie. The reason it was overlooked back then is because of all the movies that came out during that time in 1982. And the recent one is a money grab and a way for Jared Leto to expand his ever-changing personality.
Yeah. The movie was a relatively bomb, but clearly has very devoted fan base. Those sales probably won't be enough to save the movie from being something of a financial misfire. I mean, I tried watching it a couple times. I tried to give it its due process, but it doesn't hit with me, and I feel like it's very slow, and I get bored and I get tired. In part, these sales figures for The Last Jedi may explain why Disney and Lucasfilm are still moving ahead with Rian Johnson's original Star Wars trilogy. Oh, so there becomes the big thing that they wanna push out there, right? So the point of this article is right there in the writing itself. We want to prove to you that Rian Johnson's original Star Wars trilogy is still in the works, because that's what this is all about. We talked about the Mike Zero stuff in the early article, because Mike Zero went out on a limb and said that he has sources saying that Rian Johnson's original trilogy are over. So that's when Rian Johnson, somebody went out of their way to tweet Rian Johnson and ask him if he's still writing his trilogy, because Mike Zero said he didn't do it, and then that's where the whole bullying thing came from. So, to be clear, I'm putting together this to show you how this one fucking movie destroyed the franchise. And it's hard to say, well, it made $1.33 billion at the box office, and that's number 1 in 2018. Well, Mad Dog, how could you be pushing this lie? Well, I'm gonna show you, and we're gonna break it down for you. We have all the factors, but we're gonna finish this article really quick here, which still don't have too much information on the present time. Johnson did recently confirm that he's still working on it, though. Sorry, haters. You'll have to check the full list of top 10 high-selling Blu-ray of 2018 for yourself. The sales information used in this story was provided by the numbers, and we're going to use the numbers. It's the numbers. What's that little hash mark, right? It's not a hash mark. It's what's the little minus sign? The numbers minus sign. The minus sign numbers.com. So if you want to check this stuff out yourself, you can. And here are the list of the high-selling Blu-rays of 2018. And by the way, they don't tell you how much money they're making. But The Last Jedi is number 1. Black Panther is number 2. Thor Ragnarok, Coco, The Greatest Showman, which I never even heard of. Funny that Justice League is number 6. Jumanji is number 7. It is number 8. Blade Runner 2049 is number 9. And then Ferdinand is number 10. So that, I mean, like, that's saying a lot, man. It's really beating all these really great. Justice League is number 6. So now we're going to start putting this stuff into context, because the whole point of this the article was to tell you, once again, defend The Last Jedi. This was all about defending Rian Johnson's trilogy that he's supposedly writing for Star Wars that nobody's going to go see. So understand that people went to see The Last Jedi in enough to make it a $1.3 billion. But The Force Awakens, which made $2.1 billion, had people going back multiple times to see it multiple times. Maybe half of those people went to see it once and decided that they weren't going back again. And I'm gonna flesh out this point. So right now we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna talk about. I got a video here from John Talks. It's Star Wars Resistance hits 100,000 dislikes. So now let me tell you real quick. Star Wars Resistance is the new animated series coming out that's going to be on Disney XD. It's made by Lucasfilm, and it has it's not getting a lot of praise by the fans. And I would hate to think that maybe the divisive politics in Star Wars has really pissed some people off, where they're not going to watch the show and tank Disney's chances of having a hit on their hand. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to let you check out this video, and we'll be back with information coming from thenumbers.com and talk about what actually is going on with the Star Wars The Last Jedi Blu-ray, and how not so much the divisiveness in the movie, which kind of turned people off, but maybe the divisiveness in the company after people were criticizing the movie, which really stirred the pot and really pissed people off. And what is going on, and what the analytics show here, and we're gonna really flesh it out. But first, check out this video. It's John Talks. Check him out on YouTube, and we're gonna give you a quick break.
What's up, guys? John here. Alright, I want to do a really quick video on how Star Wars fans are resisting Star Wars Resistance, the animated series, because it just hit 100,000 dislikes. That's right, 100,000 dislikes, and there's only 11,000 likes. It's insane. I did a video on this on August 21st, and it's had, at that point, 50,000 dislikes, and I think it was like 9,000 likes. So that means within the span of about 2 to 3 weeks, it only got about 2,000 or 3,000 more likes, and it got about 50,000 more dislikes. So it's staggering. It's amazing to me to just see how bad, this animated series is doing. And I believe wholeheartedly that a lot of Star Wars fans really would not have cared that much about it, and would not have gone through the trouble of hitting that dislike button if it wasn't for The Last Jedi. Fans still out there. I know people are still trying to deny that, it's just a minority of fans that had an issue with The Last Jedi, but yet we still have that 46% score on Rotten Tomatoes for the audience. But still there's that sentiment, and I feel like it's slightly going away. Like, people are really starting to acknowledge that, this backlash, it wasn't just segmented to a small group of fans. No, this backlash was over 50% of the fan base, easily over 50% of the fan base. And when you look at the dislike ratio to like ratio on this Resistance trailer, that to me is staggering. And I just have to think, Disney has to be thinking, you know what? Should we? Maybe we're just going to roll out one season. Maybe we're just going to... They might already be planning to cancel this show just because of this type of reception. It doesn't look good at all. I really don't know what else to say. And I know people have said that, it's for the kids. It's for the kids. Knock it off, guys. Guys, you are just being way too critical on this animated show. It's for the kids. Well, I mean, was Rebels or the Clone Wars strictly for the kids? And I know George Lucas has said about the movies, they're kids' movies. They're kids' movies. And yet, I've said it before, I'll say it again. In A New Hope, Luke seeing his aunt and his uncle burnt to a crisp. Burnt to a crisp. One of the most graphic images I've seen. It's pretty graphic. I mean, especially, I would think, for kids, George. And let's not forget Leia in that slave bikini suit in Return of the Jedi. But it's for the kids, right, George? It's for the kids. No, these aren't movies. Granted, they're for kids, but they're also for adults. I think they can work both ways. I mean, I think kids can enjoy the films, and adults can too. And heck, if you're just aiming strictly for a kid audience, it's kind of short-sighted if Disney really is doing that, which I don't think they were. But this show, when you just look at the trailer, it's like, oh gosh, like this is, I think it's targeted for the kids, but I don't even think the kids are going to like it. So, at 100,000 dislikes, I'm just saying it's not looking good for Disney at all. And I did a video about this, it was August 21st. August 21st, at that point, Star Wars Resistance, the animated series, had, this trailer had about 50,000 dislikes. And it had somewhere around 9,000 likes. Now think about that. Within the span of 2 to 3 weeks, it gained 2,000 to 3,000 likes, and it gained 50,000 dislikes. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how many more there are dislikes coming on this video. And I'm sure it's some very pissed off fans with multiple accounts disliking it multiple times. I mean, how many people out there are really doing that? I don't think it's that many. So the fan reaction to this Resistance show is, again, I think the only word I can think of is just staggering. Absolutely staggering. Disney is in big trouble with this show, even before the very first episode, and I just don't see... I think the show's already done, to be honest. And another reason, too, why I think the show's not really... nobody's wanting it is because, nobody at this point is really into the sequel trilogy. I just don't see that. The Resistance and the whole idea of what happened before episode 7, if they were actually going to take it into a very interesting direction, how did the First Order come to be? Something a little more intriguing than what they gave us in this trailer. It's really? That's kind of the plot? That's all you're giving us? And so, we'll see. We'll see, but I can only imagine that the dislikes are going to grow on this trailer. And I guess if it gets really bad, I will do an update vid on this. But please, feel free, let me know your thoughts on what you thought of the Star Wars Resistance trailer. Did you like it? And if you liked it, that's fine. no problem. I'm glad somebody liked it. But if you feel otherwise, then feel free to leave your thoughts. Either way, feel free to leave your thoughts in that comment section below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also, if you like this channel and you want to hear more Star Wars news, pop culture, creativity, life, any of those things appeal to you, then make sure you smash that button. I'm uploading videos on a fairly regular basis, pretty much almost, I'd say, daily. So once again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Lord willing, we'll see you next time.
Back at Don't Tread on Me, N3 Radio. What I have in front of us, as I talked about earlier, is I have different shots from thenumbers.com, which really talks about the success of these movies. Like we've been talking about Star Wars since the Disney takeover, and we're going to really go into it and show where the breakdown is in these fans. We're going to really highlight the truth about the success of these movies. So right here, the very first one here is I have the United States Blu-ray sales chart for the week ending July 8th, 2018. And what place do you have Star Wars The Last Jedi on this particular week, which was July 8th? What do you see there, Beach Ball?
This is for the Last Jedi, correct?
Right. Yeah, it should be at 20th place.
Yeah, that's what I have as well, 20th place.
Okay, so now look. So this is the week. We see how many units do we have sold? It's 3,019,432. You see that down there? And then if you go all the way over, you see that we're at 17 weeks on sale. So on July 8th, 2018, 17 weeks of sale, they had 3 million units sold for a total spending. Now, this is the Blu-ray sales alone. It was $69 million, $69,409,000 dollars spent on The Last Jedi Blu-ray. Okay, so The Last Jedi coming in a strong 20th place, week 17, 17 weeks after the release of its Blu-ray, with 3,019,432 units sold, to bump up to a total of 69 million as told per the article. Okay, so we're verifying what the article had told us, and then right underneath it is The Last Jedi. You should see the little picture on the left of The Last Jedi. Do you see that?
Yes, I do see that.
Okay, so
I'm looking at this right now.
Domestic box office right there.
Domestic box office, the theatrical performance.
Yes.
It says 620,181,382 from the domestic.
So just in the domestic box office alone is saying this is how much money it made in the United States. And $620 million is not a shabby number by any means. And the international box office what do we have there with the international box office? Right underneath it.
Is 697,888,720.
Okay. So we get roughly a $1.3 billion theatrical performance. So this is the money it made in the movie theater. So down below we see the home market performance. So these are DVD and Blu-ray sales. So right here I have the factor of $15 million in Blu-ray sales. In DVD sales. And in domestic Blu-ray sales, it's $69 million for a total of 84,718,000 roughly. So It's not bad. It's still number one according to the article. The article we just read. So I'm going to venture on. So this is a total of 17 weeks of Blu-ray and DVD sales to the top of 84 million in total home video sales. Strong sales suggest that the hate for this film and the toxic fandom surrounding it is fake news and propaganda tool by white supremacist people attacking Asian actresses and not understanding military leadership by
this is where I go off. This is where I go off, Mad Dog, on this, because it's like, we know this. It's Star Wars. It's going to be number one. That is not our argument. Our argument is it's not as good as The Force Awakens. You're totally glossing over this, and the numbers prove it, as you'll show.
They're totally straw manning it. They always like take the argument that you're going to have and misdirect you into having an argument you're not having. And we're not saying that the Last Jedi was not successful. We're just saying that you lost half of fandom with it. You legitimately had the ability of making another $2 billion, a potential of making another $2 billion movie that people loved.
Or even more. Or even more if it was a better story.
Because you had that potential, but you lost it because of the crap that you guys pulled. So right here I have the Star Wars Episode 8 Last Jedi once again. I have the weekly DVD sales, and week 1, The Last Jedi made $8,232,000. That's what it made week 1, okay, in DVD sales. And in Blu-ray sales, it made a whopping $41,232,000. So it made half of its money, legitimately half of its money, week 1. So people who love this movie, or at least half of the people that love this movie and wanted it, including myself, which I bought the DVD and I bought it on digital version because I'm a collector and I want to, so I factor into that money even though I hate the movie, right? I'm a collector and I'm a completist and I want to have all the movies at my home.
And real quick, Mad Dog, I'm willing to bet either half or 2/3 of the people buying The Last Jedi want it because they have all the rest of the movies, not because they like the movie.
Exactly.
There are people there are a lot of people I know that watch Lord of the Rings that have the Two Towers. That's the one out of the Lord of the Rings series that collects dust on their shelf, but they have it there and they'll watch the first and third ones. You know what I mean?
Yes. So released on March 27, 2018 on both Blu-ray and DVD, it wouldn't be disingenuous to suggest that this film is much more popular than the man babies are suggesting, right? There are, then there's The Force Awakens, which wasn't empty of issues, but was an overwhelming success. Talk about the numbers. Okay, we're going back to the numbers again. So now we've pulled up the Force Awakens, and we're going to talk about the numbers.
For the domestic box office, this is for The Force Awakens, correct?
Right.
Okay, for the domestic, it was just shy of $1 billion. It was $936 million. Let's just say $936 million.
Right. And then we have $1.1 billion for the international, making a total of just over $2 billion worldwide. But now, if you look at the
so let's make that's 40%. Let's just say.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So if you look at the estimated DVD sales, it was 38 million, right? And then the domestic Blu-ray sales was 151 million for a total of 189 million. Now that's important to say because we just had this false flag article telling us how great The Last Jedi is doing, which overall it is doing very good. I mean, that's a very good position to be in at number 1 at 17 weeks after the film was released, right? So,
right.
As I scroll down here, I want to look. So I want to look here at week 1 of the Force Awakens DVD release and notice the whopping $11 million spent on DVD with 669 units sold. So week 1 of the Force Awakens being released, we had 669,000 DVDs sold, which is over $11 million sold on DVD sales. Now, mind you, most people have Blu-ray now, right? That was week 1 of The Force Awakens, $11 million.
Right.
So I scroll down now. Let's look at week 1 release of Blu-ray sales for The Force Awakens. And notice that the total units sold week 1 is greater than 3.4 million for the total of 85 million spent just alone in week 1. So the success of the #1 Blu-ray in 2018 hasn't even caught up to week 1 of the sequel film after 17 weeks on the shelf in the bargain bin. So as you look at the next data sheet, it says week 1 of The Force Awakens, in the first week of its release, it ranked #1 with 3.4 million units sold for $85 million. Week 1 of The Force Awakens has more units sold than the #1 movie of 2018, The Last Jedi, with $84 million sold. The Force Awakens was a juggernaut at the box office. It kept people coming to see it over and over. It was highly sought after as a keepsake to bring home. So I believe it is completely disingenuous to claim that this film is a success when although expected to lose some of its success for various reasons, had such a financial drop that it actually an actual interest, that $105 million in interest to be exact. $105 million loss. So to make this more interesting, we're going to go into Black Panther. So Black Panther makes $700 million domestically and $647 million at the international box office for a total of 1.347. Oh my God. Black Panther, I think, made more money than The Last Jedi, right? 1.318, right? Let's go back down to Black Panther. Where's Black Panther at? Hold on a second here. Okay, Black Panther made 1.347. So The Last Jedi, this, completely juggernaut of a movie, didn't even make more money than Black Panther, right? Which I thought Black Panther was a generally good movie. And Black Panther, to be exact, okay, so let's look at this Blu-ray sales. The estimated DVD sales was 21 million. So 21 million DVDs were sold. And then domestic Blu-ray sales was 59 million, right? For a total of 81.1 million total domestic videos sold, right? The interesting thing now there is the Black Panther, May 15 release, roughly 2 months after The Last Jedi, has made a respectable 1.3 million at the worldwide box office. Is closing in on the 2018 Blu-ray record, with 81 million in sales, almost 2 less months out on the shelf. It was good timing to push an article out right before Black Panther overtakes The Last Jedi. So just to be to put out a information out there, Justice League. Did you see the Justice League article up there? Justice League domestic box office was 229 million. International box office was 426 million. So it made twice as much money internationally than it did at the domestic box office, right? So it made $655 million worldwide, which isn't shabby, but it was highly panned by fans and critics alike, right? Domestic DVD sales was $12 million, and domestic Blu-ray sales was $36 million, for a total of $48 million. So it was roughly half of what the Last Jedi made. And this is a movie that was highly panned by both critics and, it would have been interesting if I would have pulled up the Rotten Tomatoes score for both the critics and viewers score, because I know it was trashed, right? Then there's the Justice League 2617, which considered a giant disappointment by fans and critics alike, which never came close to its projected goals. Somehow was able to bring in just over half of The Last Jedi in home video sales, which really shows how much propaganda is behind the shilling of not only a poorly written and directed Star Wars film, but a false flag shilling operation used to disguise how bad it was with an Antifa type assault on fandom who was critical of the film. Then we got out to Solo. So Solo is the real indicator of what actually happened to Star Wars. Which I think Solo in by far is not. I think it's a better film than The Last Jedi. Slightly better film than The Last Jedi. It's got its problems. I thought some things were really stupid about the movie, but for the most part, I was generally entertained by the movie. And there were some things. There was a social justice robot I've talked about here on the show before. Domestic box office made $213 million. But the international box office made $171 million. Now, the argument here is, Star Wars doesn't do well overseas. But in both cases, I think that both other cases that Star Wars did better internationally than it did domestically. But here, we have a giant international box office. So we can't argue that it was just these, white radicals in the United States who panned the movie, and that's why the Chinese and the Japanese and the Europeans and everybody else didn't go see the film, because they really didn't, because it only made $171 million. If you look down at the bottom of the demographic there, it has a production budget of $250 million, which I think it was much more than that in all actuality, because that 80% of the film was made and Lord and Miller were removed from the film and replaced by Ron Howard. Finally, Solo Star Wars Story DVD and Blu-ray comes out in 2 days. And I would assume it will not do well. As you can see, I left a production budget of $250 million as reported by the numbers. I will speak to the domestic numbers only, since Star Wars has been doing good. And I, outside of the domestic take, or has it? The Force Awakens did better internationally than it did domestically, and I think it is safe to say that many factors went into the destruction of Solo. However, The Last Jedi and its social justice campaign against the fans was a big one. People come to see these films to escape, and it is irrelevant whether or not you share the views. People assume that the problems in the galaxy far, far away have issues far, far away from the Earth's social issues. We want to fight space Nazis without knowing what the pay gap ratio between a woman vice admiral and Admiral Akbar are. We don't want to be preached to about freeing horses when our heroes ignore the human slaves. We don't want our male heroes emasculated for his willingness to act when the actual plan of the vice admiral doesn't save any lives. We should be able to criticize a film for reasons without having those reasons diminished and deflected into the lowest possible denominators, such as being Nazis and alt-right misogynists. I remind you that it has been now 10 months since The Last Jedi has been released in theaters, and there is still a mass attempt by loyalists of Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson defending this film every day in social media. So we're going to wrap up our show today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gotten something out of this. I think we did a real job of
thorough.
Yeah, very thorough in going into how this movie has deconstructed the fan base of Star Wars. And I think to some degree, I think that was Rian Johnson's goal. But I'm going to leave you here with Let's Be Honest, the social justice warriors kind of ruined Star Wars, from Quo Vadis America. Just a young lady who's speaking her honest opinion is about Star Wars and how social justice has ruined it. And we're going to leave you with that. And I believe Beach Ball has a Geeks and Gamers video for us at the end. You want to talk to us real quick about the Geeks and Gamers video before we leave?
Yeah, it just basically covers what we've been covering the past half hour about the sales between The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, how these shills, it mentions Windbag, how he's like, oh, it must be really successful, but it's basically, we're not saying that Star Wars wasn't going to be successful. We're saying it's not as successful as the Force Awakens.
Yeah, so our show was commentary on this Geeks and Gamers video, so you guys should check them out, follow them, and subscribe to their videos because they're really cool, and they're they got some good information out there. I mean, you can be a fan of games and video movies and comics without needing to subscribe to every leftist ideology that's out there. So check out Geeks and Gamers and subscribe to them. And I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Mad Dog. You can get me at maddogdtom@yahoo.com. Beach Ball, where can they find you at?
They can find me at N3 Radio 2017. That's the number 2017 at gmail.com.
Okay, we'll check you out, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. That's the end of the show. Have a good one.
What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we are talking about The Last Jedi Blu-ray sales. Why are we talking about The Last Jedi Blu-ray sales? Well, it was reported just a few days ago that the #1 selling Blu-ray of the year is The Last Jedi. And right on cue, anybody that needs any reason to defend this movie, and there's not many reasons to defend it, but the few people that are out there that will die on this hill, they are trying their best to spin this in the best direction possible for them. Now, I said many times on this channel, over and over again, that The Last Jedi would be #1 when it came out, and it was going to sell a lot of units. I never disputed that. But in comparison to The Force Awakens is what everybody was waiting for. We wanted to see how big of a drop-off would it be. Now, we were expecting somewhat of a drop-off. 15, 20%. That's actually fair, for a sequel coming off such a highly anticipated film. 20, 25% at the most, you know what I mean? And so, anyway, we all waited for that. So when we started getting some actual numbers, I made a video talking about the actual numbers for week 1 of the Blu-ray sales of The Force Awakens versus the Blu-ray sales of The Last Jedi. This is still data that is available today, and you can look it up. Well, our good buddy Chucky Poo Wendig, who is an author for Star Wars and a blocker on Twitter, he will block you. It doesn't matter if you've interacted with him. It doesn't matter what you do. If you are active on Twitter, there's a good chance this guy's going to block you, especially if you have given an opinion that he disagrees with. And it doesn't matter what the opinion is. Like, he could just say it's cold outside. You can say, yeah, it's not that cold. That block. He will block you for nothing, because this is the type of echo chamber this person has tried to create. So when you see people that are his followers that comment, they are people that basically say, Chuck, you're so right. You're so right. You're so right, Chuck. This is exactly what he needs. So Chuck has decided, even though he blocked me, I don't know, several months ago, I guess back in like March, maybe? I'm not sure. I never interacted with the guy. So, but he blocked me a long time ago. But he still is very interested in the Geeks and Gamers content. So, Chuck, thank you for watching, first of all. And thank you for sharing our content, things like that, and just making people aware of us. We really do appreciate it. So, anyway, this was on the 5th of September. People have said to send me screenshots because obviously I don't pay attention to Chuck's Twitter, and I can't because he blocked me. So he shares a screenshot of our video. It says, more bad news for Star Wars. The Last Jedi Blu-ray sales aren't good. And he says, I mean, surely this fine, smart person who rants about facts isn't wrong because he ranted about facts. I was told the Blu-ray was tanking. What even is reality? Then right on cue, Mr. Brian Young comes in and says, those particular Geeks and Gamers are all about the fake news, Chuck. Now, let me remind you who Brian Young is. Brian Young is a contributor to StarWars.com. He's also a contributor to many sites. And just a few months ago, Brian Young decided to lie about me and say that I was leading the boycott charge against Solo. He point blank said this. He also mentioned EVS. So I responded with a video where I basically point blank showed video evidence where on multiple occasions over multiple weeks, I point blank said on camera, I do not support boycotts. I am not going to go see this movie because it's my individual decision, but I support your right to go see the movie as many times as you want. I don't believe in boycotts. Yet Brian Young decided to say, I supported the boycott and led the boycott movement. Once my video came out and I destroyed him, he quietly edited the article and never offered an apology or anything like that. Why? Because these are the types of people we're dealing with. If I make mistakes, I'll admit I make mistakes. Brian Young does not like to admit he makes mistakes because he wants you to perceive him as a perfect individual who does nothing wrong. Now, let's get on to the bigger issue here. Now, Chuck says, I'm not, a person who rants about facts isn't wrong because he ranted about facts. I was told Blu-ray was tanking. Well, Chuck, let's talk about the things I talked about in that video. So what did I say in the video? I said in the video, I specifically shared actual data. The Force Awakens. Week 1, when I made that video, the week 1 data told us that The Force Awakens sold 3.4 million units in the first week, which is a record by far for any Blu-ray. A record. Why? Because the audience, myself included, really enjoyed this movie. I have continued to stand by that, and I will, no matter how many people tell me that they don't like the fact that I defend The Force Awakens, I will because I like The Force Awakens. Now, what else was I talking about? I was talking about The Last Jedi numbers in comparison to The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi sold 1.8 million units in the first week. 1.8 compared to 3.4. That is a major drop. A monumental drop from where The Force Awakens was. Now again, we expected somewhat of a drop. That is a massive drop. A drop that not even Disney was prepared for. That was the point of my video. But you're not worried about context. You're only worried about creating a false narrative. I never said The Force Awakens or the Last Jedi was a failure on Blu-ray. I said many times it was going to be number 1 because it's Star Wars. But how would it perform against The Force Awakens? And this is a monumental drop. And to this date, the Last Jedi has sold a hair over 3 million copies after 17 weeks. A hair over 3 million. That still doesn't even beat the first week's sales for The Force Awakens. 17 weeks into The Last Jedi Blu-ray sales, it still hasn't even matched the first week for The Force Awakens. That is my point. Now, you don't have to like my position. You don't have to like any of it. But those are the facts. And the facts don't care about your feelings, Chuck. And Chuck, that's a saying from Ben Shapiro. And I know that's going to piss you off because you don't like anybody on the conservative side. You don't like that. And that's specifically why I said that, to piss you off, because it's really fun to piss you off. And like I keep saying, these people are coming after me left and right now on Twitter. They all block me, yet they all talk about me. And that's fine, because like I said, every tier is another sub for Geeks and Gamers. So continue to cry. Cry your eyes out. Watch Geeks and Gamers continue to grow. Because what Geeks and Gamers is here to give you the facts. And the facts are, after 17 weeks on sale, The Last Jedi still has not matched the first week of the Force Awakens Blu-ray sales. Now, moving on, looking at the rest of the year, there's a really good chance, because Black Panther released 2 months after The Last Jedi. 2 months. The Last Jedi had a 2-month head start, and Black Panther has almost caught it. So Black Panther is more than likely going to pass The Last Jedi before the end of the year. It's going to be close. And Infinity War has a really good chance to pass it also. So that means that The Last Jedi could end up third overall. Third, for a Star Wars movie. The Force Awakens finished number 1 for the year. Rogue One finished number 1 for the year. And right now it looks like, now again, we're looking into the future. This is not me saying it's a fact. I'm just looking at how the numbers are moving. And it appears that Infinity War and Black Panther will both surpass The Last Jedi, meaning it's third for the year, whereas The Force Awakens was setting Blu-ray sales records. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think The Force Awakens is like the 4th best-selling Blu-ray of all time. And while Blu-rays haven't been around for 50 years, the other films that are within that top 5 with The Force Awakens are movies that were released several years ago. So The Force Awakens was a juggernaut, and it broke records, and the audience, for the most part, enjoyed it. And I already know, I can hear the comments a mile away. My audience is going to kill me over that, and that's fine. But the facts are The Force Awakens was a success. It was a success at the box office. Week 2, it only dropped 39%. It had great legs, great word of mouth, great audience scores. Then the Blu-ray broke every record known to man, and the numbers proved it. The Last Jedi broke the fandom. I stand by what I said in the video that Chuck doesn't seem to like, and he doesn't want to sit there and acknowledge the facts that are mentioned in the video, but those are the facts, Chuck. I'm sorry. Again, shout out to you one more time, Chucky Poo, from Ben Shapiro. Facts don't care about your feelings, Chuck. They really don't. So you're just going to have to deal with it. Shout out to Brian Young for lying about me, and then after being exposed, quietly editing his article but not offering an apology. Shout out to MakingStarWars.net. Jason and Amanda, you're the best because you just advertised the hell out of Geeks and Gamers, so I figure I'd give you a shout out back. I really appreciate it. Keep talking. Every tier equals a sub for Geeks and Gamers, and I'm loving it. You guys have a great day. We will talk to you later.
N3 Radio is a non-profit teaching platform for non-professionals. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or professional use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
N3 Radio in the mix.